Ethobot. For those that don't know who this guy is, pretty much he's one of the biggest Minecraft channels going around right now. He's got 7.5 million subscribers, mostly full of kids. He's pretty much an AFMAO clone. He makes shorts and long forms that are super weird and complete brain rot. Well, his content isn't exactly what we're here for today. The reason I'm bringing this guy up is because he's been accused of a whole lot of bad stuff. From abusing the copyright system to trying and taking other YouTubers' livelihoods away from them, which is just typical at this point. I swear we can't go 5 minutes without some huge YouTuber abusing the copyright system, underpaying the hell out of his employees, most of which are minors, mentally abusing and exploiting his friends and employees, even flying to underage friends and staff and fans. Pretty much imagine Benji X Scarlet, the copyright striking scumbag, and Nutshell Animations underpaying his employees, put them together and make the situation 15 times worse. This is actually awful what we have to go through today. Now before we start, make sure you join the brand new Glider Guy Gang Discord server, top link in the description, and yeah, let's just jump straight into this huge thing. Essentially, this all began when a YouTuber called Animal Mace, who is a Minecraft YouTuber with 2 million subscribers, reached out to me via Discord. Pretty much he let me know about this entire situation over Discord. He sent me a really long message with a huge Google Doc, and in this Google Doc are some of the wildest, most insane allegations I think we've ever seen from a YouTuber. Pretty much there's about 5 people who have been associated with Ethobot with hours of audio testimonies, which are hours long, exposing the absolute hell out of this guy, as well as text documents with so much evidence and tens of pages of just like absolute, like just complete exposing of this guy. Alleging, like I said before, threatening creators and colleagues using his huge platform, underpaying his employees sometimes $5 an hour or lower, which is even lower than Nutshell Animations, and I thought that was bad. Mentally abusing and exploiting his friends and employees, flying out to meet underage friends, staff, and fans, which is completely wild, and of course abusing the copyright system just to top it all off. Now before we go into details, I need this to be known that these are just allegations right now. There's tons of evidence to back this all up, which I'm going to be going over today, but they are all still alleged. Also, all the references and documents I'll be using today will be linked in the description down below. This means that if you want to check out everything yourself, you can find it all there. As well as that, like I said before, there are hours and hours of audio testimonies for you to check out to back up all the documents in text here today. So first of all, let's start off with Animal Mace's story. Pretty much this is a 2 million subscriber Minecraft YouTuber that reached out to me. He's an ex-community tab post renderer for Ethobot and now runs his own Minecraft channel. He used to be friends with Ethobot, but then they had a falling out and he's been harassed by this guy for about 2 years now. Animal Mace is a victim of Ethobot's copyright abuse, receiving multiple strikes from him. He's sending repeated attempts to silence him with legal threats and so on, and slandered him to his friends constantly. Anyways, to start this off, Animal Mace met Ethobot through a Discord server for YouTubers to meet each other. They occasionally talked, and then one day Ethobot offered Mace a job doing community tab posts for him. Pretty much every 1 to 2 days he'd have to make a post and get paid for it. And these weren't just regular community tab posts. The most important part from my understanding is that he was making proper renders, which were in the Minecraft game. I don't know much about that, but Mace pretty much explained that he was doing a lot of work and didn't feel like he was getting paid enough for the work, which is really no big deal. He pretty much just, you know, asked for a small raise. Hey Etho, now that I finished the first month of posts, I do have to say that making these community tab posts is a little bit more time than I expected. I was wondering if your current budget allows for a small raise. Etho was then going to say, I was actually going to mention that I'll be lowering the amount of renders for you to do. So this month you did 28 renders, next month I'll be getting you to do 16. Are you willing to do that at the current price? Mace then goes, I personally see fit for a small raise. Ethobot then asks how much, and Animal Mace pretty much says, you know, 23 euros, could that work? And then Ethobot, you know, kind of stalls, saying like, let me check something, whatever. Then Ethobot asks for a compromise, asking if $20 or, you know, around 18 euro would be enough. Mace then said that he'd give himself the night to think about it and get back to him tomorrow. Now after this, Mace didn't really work for Ethobot for very long after that, as he felt a little bit off about Ethobot, seeing how closely he worked with minors and how weirdly he treated people, so he switched and started working for iStream, which weirdly enough, I've actually made a video about iStream, and apparently he had a better time there. Later on, Mace started making his own channel, and obviously that really took off for him. As you guys know, he's got 2 million subscribers now, but he noticed that people were becoming a lot more distant from him in his like community, in his YouTube community. He didn't really think anything of it, but apparently there was one person responsible for this. Apparently someone was slandering him to his friends behind closed doors, and do you guys want to take one guess on who that might be? Yeah, it was Ethobot. Ethobot was apparently framing Mace as a bunch of horrible things, stuff along the lines of exploiting friends, being hard to work with, being a copier and was ripping everyone off. Mace apparently slandering Ethobot, that he takes advantage of other people, and that he begged Ethobot to buy his channel. Now look, with all these claims, these are all alleged. I, Glider Guy, was not personally personally involved in any of this stuff. This is all coming from Animal Mace here. So as much as I'm going to lean and support Animal Mace more on this because there's so much more evidence here, I will be unbiased as I can, and you know, if something fishy pops up, I'm gonna call it out. And for this, I really don't see any proof that it happened, although it's pretty much impossible to prove. So far, it's kind of just he said, she said. But anyways, Mace then explains how this really messed with his mental health, which honestly, as a YouTuber, I can 100% agree. The YouTubers that you connect with are pretty much like your team, that they're kind of like your brotherhood. For me personally, I talk to a bunch of other YouTubers in this commentary space off camera. Keedboy, Nguyen, Decept, Rith, just to name a few. So if one day some guy I worked with and considered a friend started talking bad behind my back to my colleagues essentially, and slowly made them distance from me, I mean, I'd be pretty annoyed as well. That probably wouldn't feel very nice. Imagine you're at school and you're in a friend group and one of the friends just starts chatting bad behind your back to all of your friends, saying that you're a snake and that you're a liar when you're clearly not, and then your friend group just starts to slowly cut you off. You can imagine that wouldn't be very nice, would it? Now, to elaborate on Ethobot slandering Mace to his friends, Etho pretty much thinks that Mace was making content that was way too similar to him. Pretty much these are a couple of examples right here. Mace's videos are on the left and Etho's videos are on the right. Now look, are these videos similar? Yes. Could Mace have changed the thumbnail slightly to make it more original? Sure. But why didn't Ethobot just, I don't know, reach out to Mace and talk about it? I mean, you worked with the guy, you clearly have his contact details. It's not like he wouldn't reply if you reached out to him. What's ironic about this is that Ethobot's video concepts and thumbnails are also copied from other YouTubers like Athmau. I mean, there are just so many examples I'm going to show on screen right now. Athmau's videos are on the left and Ethobot's videos are on the right. This guy rips off so many other YouTubers, big and small, that it's not even funny. Now look, do I think this is a bad thing? No. Look, the concepts aren't original, but let's be real at this point. Nothing on YouTube is original. Everyone copies everyone, bro. That's how YouTube is in 2025. As long as you don't copy and paste people's videos and instead take inspiration and make something in your own style, then you're pretty much good, to be honest with you. For example, this video's thumbnail that you clicked on right now is in no way an original style. The style with the picture on the left and the white background on the right with text, I totally nabbed that from Nguyen, who popularized it, but I changed it slightly to make it unique. And I also asked Nguyen myself if it was okay for me to like nab the style, and he said that it was okay. Now when I made this change, what Nguyen didn't do, which is what Ethobot did, and we'll touch on this now, is send me false copyright strikes and start taking my videos down. What Ethobot did after seeing that Mace's thumbnails and concepts were similar was send 3 false copyright strikes over these thumbnails. Pretty much like I showed before, Mace started making Minecraft roleplay type videos similar to Athmau, Cash, Nico, and Ethobot. These videos that Ethobot struck were about, you know, Guess Who, a Minecraft build battle, and a video where someone turns into a baby. All super generic Minecraft roleplay videos. I mean, bro, I'll show again the thumbnails that Ethobot struck. Sure, they're similar, but that's not a reason to send a goddamn copyright strike. Copyright strikes are meant for if someone takes your work without permission and re-uploads it. For example, if Mace downloaded Ethobot's video and, you know, re-uploaded it, profiting off his work, then sure, Ethobot can send a copyright strike. You can't do that, right? If Mace downloaded one of Ethobot's thumbnails and took it without permission, then sure, he can send a copyright strike. That's fair. But Mace explains how he used his own assets and made the thumbnails himself. He didn't take anything from Ethobot's thumbnails and made them from the ground up. So for a 100% fact, these are false copyright strikes. Again, the concepts are similar. You can have your opinions about that, right? But at the end of the day, Ethobot is breaking copyright law. You cannot send false copyright strikes over a video thumbnail concept. That's ridiculous. You can't do that. By that rationale, if someone in the commentary space started making videos about Benji X Scarlet first, and then other people jumped onto it, the person who made the first video about Benji X Scarlet could sit there and strike anyone. But you can't do that, bro. That's not how it works. I'd also like to mention how he changed the license on his content right before striking me, a license I adhered to. He used the Creative Commons Attribution license, reuse allowed, on all his content, both shorts and long form. That makes it even more ironic. For those that don't know, every single YouTube video has 2 different licenses when you upload them. 99% of people have a standard YouTube license. That's the license that I use. Everyone uses it when they post videos. It pretty much means that you're allowed to use other people's work only if it's fair use. You can't just blatantly rip off people's videos and re-upload them. It's just standard procedure to make sure that people can't steal your work. And then there's another license, which is Creative Commons license. Now, for those that don't know what that means, a Creative Commons license, as it says here, literally means you can reuse the content. You are quite literally allowed to repost Ethobot's videos if you want with this license. It's insane how he's allowed to send these copyright strikes. Ethobot, you literally have a license that is more allowing of re re-uploading than the standard YouTube license. Anyways, Mace then links a tweet where he's trying to reach Team YouTube, and at the time of recording this video, I think YouTube hasn't gotten back to him yet, which is totally awesome, bro. So glad to see that YouTube really care about this, don't they? It really just seems like that they continue to shield these giants in the community and not help out anyone that doesn't feed their pockets. Now anyways, let's go a little bit more in depth into this, with some more of these things that Ethobot accused Mace of behind the scenes. So another one that I specifically take advantage of Oxy and others around me. It's not true, we're fine and we still make videos together. Tearing my videos apart in front of my friends, I was very disappointed to learn that many of my videos were being screen shared in his work Discord. Pretty much just like textbook bullying. Mace always uses my characters without permission. I always ask for permission. I don't mind those, in quotes. Pretty much showing that Mace always asks Ethobot for permission to like use characters in his own videos, and Ethobot said sure. Mace uses Ethobot's voice without permission. I always ask for permission. It's something I do with certain creators that are a bit busy and might not always have time to record me a line, or they travel often or whatever. And pretty much shows that again, Animal Mace always asks for permission for Ethobot to use voices and whatever, and you know, he always says it's okay. Then after a while of this, and of course, you know, the copyright strikes, Ethobot and his mum apparently started going around to Mace's friends threatening legal action if they don't stop copying Ethobot's content, which again is insanely ironic. This guy Ethobot is literally just an Aphmau clone with 7 million subscribers. Anytime you click an Ethobot video, you might as well be watching an Aphmau video. They make the same goddamn content. Pretty much here is the DM that a bunch of Minecraft YouTubers around Mace's space got sent. This is from Motherbot, so it says, "Hi, name, I hope you're doing well. Do you still work with Animal Mace? If you do, please let him know that I wrote this, blah blah blah. Hey guys, in the past year, we've heard of several YouTube creators who are copying our Ethobot content." Incredibly ironic again. I believe that some of you have been told to stop as a friend, but they haven't taken Etho seriously. I will warn that in the letter, if they do not stop using our channel material, I will pursue them legally, beginning with a cease and desist letter from our lawyer. Pretty much what Motherbot is trying to say here, which is an incredibly cringe name, but you know, we'll move past that. Pretty much they're saying that they have like trademarked every single one of Ethobot's videos, and apparently like you can't use video topics that Ethobot makes, which is absolutely stupid. You can't trademark video topics, and you can't trademark YouTube videos in the first place. There's no such thing, bro. You can't trademark an idea or concept of a video. Like I said before, that's like me making my first vegan teacher video back in 2020 and then trademarking the idea and threatening legal action to any other YouTubers that talk about it. Like, bro, it's a free society. We don't live in North Korea. You're allowed to use other people's ideas and concepts. And again, like we see down here, Creative Commons license. Ethobot literally has a Creative Commons license on his videos. Etho then apparently started pinging his work Discord server, warning people that he was going to start working with this company called Spotter. What Spotter does is essentially buy your old videos, taking the revenue from them, and then give like a chunk of money to the original creator. Now, Spotter is pretty much an investment company, but Etho twisted this into trying to say that Spotter will be copyright striking people's videos because of video topics, which is just not true in the slightest. That just doesn't happen. Spotter doesn't send copyright strikes, nor can you send copyright strikes for video topics. So that was Animal Mace's document. There is a whole lot more in that document that I didn't cover, but those were just the main points I covered there. Now let's move on to another person in this document. Now this person's name is Emma, and Emma worked for Ethobot for multiple years, playing the second lead character. She had multiple roles: content manager, blockbuster animator, actor, voice actor, script writer, audio editor, and so much more, as you can see. Pretty much the main points are that she was worked to over-exhaustion, mentally gatekept and manipulated, financially screwed over, and Ethobot flew out to meet Emma when she was a and I mean, that sounds absolutely horrible, so let's just begin. So pretty much she met Etho in June of 2022 when she was 16 to 17 years old, met Etho during a difficult period and formed a close friendship when they worked together. The friendship became extremely controlling, where Etho was being very manipulative, discouraging dating, isolating Emma from her friends, everything like that, worked excessive hours during high school without fair compensation or adequate breaks, was constantly getting yelled at, degraded, and humiliated by Ethobot, gave her the mindset that everyone is replaceable, received no financial compensation from live streams, met up with Ethobot in person once when she was a when he flew out to meet her, and an underage superfan in person, called full legal name by Etho constantly and had him leaking it semi-frequently, which is essentially saying that Ethobot was like soft doxing Emma. Now let's go into more detail. So Emma met Etho through a friend and they started talking. They pretty much hung out all the time on Discord and whatnot, and one time Ethobot said that Emma was very mature for her age and kept saying it, which is a little bit odd. Keep in mind that Ethobot is 23 right now, so he would have been around 20 at the time, so yeah, very odd. Now Now let's talk about the work environment. Usually I would work on 2 scripts of my own while looking over and editing to 1 to 2 other scripts, writer scripts, attend around 2 streams, commission, think of next week's video ideas, sending out assignments, voice acting in multiple videos. I realized I was very burnt out. I never took breaks and was piled up with work or doing work so often that I would even have to do it in class, in high school. I'd be reviewing scripts, writing them during classes, and I had to sacrifice many hangouts and club activities, basically teenager things, for work. I only ever took time off during winter breaks, a week, and when her grandpa died, 3 days. I felt bad for taking a break when my grandpa died, and recently I found out that yes, Etho felt bad that my grandpa passed away, but it was mostly because he was waiting for her to come back to work. I remember editing someone's script, giving advice, giving them some training, etc. before he asked me. It was minimal, but it was, I hope, regardless, so I was tasked with teaching her. I found out she was being paid more than me, even though I was writing and teaching her. I was paid 25, she was paid 30, and the other script writers were paid 20. Now, I'm not sure what 30, 25, and 20 means. I don't know if that's per hour, per script, or whatever, but essentially Emma wasn't being paid fairly compared to other employees. And near the end of her work for Etho, for some reason he randomly took away her manager role, which she explains that she kinda understood, but then said this. I don't blame him for that. I even understood why, but I'm upset because he didn't let me know or talk to me about my role. There were also times where I asked him for raises. I remember managing my writers and I told him, I know you want me to teach them, but on top of all my managing etc, even more than I'm used to, is it alright if I get $5 to $15 raise? Etho just told me, isn't that a part of your duties? I don't think you need a raise. Anyways, then goes on to say, we agreed on a price as well as a $15 increase if we were doing daily, Monday to Friday. It felt like to Emma he was deliberately not hitting the daily mark. They never hit that 5 days, so he'd have to stick to the daily raise offer he gave her, even though they were doing videos 4 out of the 5 days. Also, speaking in terms of payment, there's editors making twice as much as I am, while I have this many roles and spend many hours on Ethobot's work. I had many roles and practiced many things. I was the backup that bounced around everywhere, filling roles that needed it while I was still doing my own work. So yeah, super scummy so far. Pretty much this just reminds me of Nutshell Animations. It's pretty much just like completely disorganized work. Someone is doing so much more work but getting paid so much less. But anyways, let's move on to the streaming section. I was the co-host of almost every Ethobot stream while I was working there, playing games while in character as Daisy, the younger sister persona Ethobot created and features on his own channel in both short and long videos. I was not paid for any live streaming, even for the occasional solo stream I hosted myself on Etho's channel. I didn't know I was supposed to be paid or even that I could be paid. I was young and I didn't question it. I saw it as a favor. When he cut off the friendship, he still expected free streams. I did do one free stream with other voice actors, but after being asked for streams, I just told Etho it wasn't worth it. It took 4 to 6 hours of my time every week. The streams felt like actual work to me, always have. And now during the final stream where we weren't even friends, Etho told me, Emma, you need to read chat. They like it when you read the chat, so you need to do it. Not paid, not friends, just doing it all for free in character. So yeah, we'll touch on the friendship ending a little bit later. Pretty much they had like a falling out and, you know, Etho ended the friendship, like, you know, with words. So it was clear that they weren't friends anymore and he still expected free work from Emma, which obviously is just completely stupid. Considering Etho's obviously in a position of power. I mean, he's 20 years old, he's a 7 million subscriber YouTuber, talking to a 16 to 17 year old. So obviously there's going to be a power dynamic there. And she recalls being yelled a lot before and after one stream in particular, in which a bunch of people reached out asking if she was okay. Again, there's no recordings of this obviously, but a lot of people backed her up on this, saying that, you know, there was a lot of yelling and abuse. And after this, Etho proposed a Yandere Daisy video, which for those that don't know what Yandere is, pretty much it's like a Japanese girl who starts off sweet and innocent and then turns into some like psychotic lover or something like that. They then attach a clip where Emma declines doing the video because, you know, she's a and that's a little bit strange.
Make a video about Daisy as a yandere? That could be funny. That could be something. What are your thoughts?
Yandere for what though?
Older brother attention maybe?
No.
That could be a thing.
That's more weird than you think.
Huh? I see an anime all the time.
Yeah, but anime also has weird things.
Well, that's why it's so... Sorry. Depends on what weird we're talking about.
Well, I won't say it on stream because I don't want you to get cancelled. So.
On a scale of 1 to Oshinoko. I'm not turning it on.
Like a 7 or 8.
Now, in these streams, Emma commissioned a VTuber, Daisy, paying out of pocket for Ethobot streams, thinking that it, you know, it would be a cool addition to the streams. Now, she didn't want people using this VTuber file because she was worried that it could, you know, make her replaceable, which is fair enough. So what she did was tell Ethobot that she could use the model for his streams, but didn't want to give him the files to it. Etho then said, "You have to give it to me. Wasn't it a gift? You said it was a gift. I'm sorry, but if you're not going to give it, it's not going to be used." Then Emma pretty much felt obligated to give it over to him, otherwise it would pretty much be a waste of $700. Ethobot also said that she couldn't use the model elsewhere other than his streams, meaning that she couldn't use it on her own streams either. And now to this day, Emma has actually been replaced, so pretty much, you know, Etho stole this $700 VTuber model thing, and other voice actors might be able to use it in the future, and this was all paid for by Emma. All that is super scummy, bro, from manipulating her to hand over the model, which is $700 that Emma paid for out of pocket, and then after Emma stopped working with Ethobot, he hasn't given the files back. Anyways, now we move on to forcing a family dynamic, which already off the rip is pretty concerning, but let's continue. Ethobot instilled the family thing so far that you'd feel actually bad if you didn't tell Ethobot about personal things. If you didn't tell him personal things, it'd feel like you hid things from him. That's the dynamic he built. If you had problems, personal or not, you consult Ethobot. That's why Emma thinks so many people are scared of him, because Ethobot knows a lot about a lot of people. The dynamic where he knows so much about you and you vent to him. Coworker 1 first thought something was off to closure. Etho introduced Emma as his favorite person in the whole world. Emma saw him as a best friend. Etho always pushed to seeing each other as family, brothers and sisters. Unless Etho lectured her, then he'd change up and say we're not family at all. I mean, that's just A1 classic manipulation right there. I mean, bro, whether these are just silly Minecraft videos or not, it is a business. You have employees, bro. You might consider them to be friends, but at the end of the day, you are dealing with people who are working for you. Etho, you have to keep it professional, bro. If your employee doesn't want to talk to you about personal things, they don't have to do that. There's a difference between close friends and employees. Anyways, then it goes on to say, always uses the term the office is like family, so you would feel even worse if you delay your work since, you know, he would be an example. Everyone has their part. If the scriptwriters don't do a good job, then the animators will do worse. If the animators do worse, then no matter how other editors do it, it won't be good. Because of the family dynamic, it was very hard to leave. Now we go on to the replaceable section. Something Emma remembered vividly when she was first started working there at 16 years old is that you're replaceable. You can be replaced instantly if you think you're a big shot. It made Emma feel like she had to be a workaholic. She was scared of being replaced. Emma told Ethobot of how scared she was of being replaced because of things he kept saying about how replaceable everyone was. Emma was told she was needed, but deep down she didn't feel like she was needed because of this. Etho would switch being important, telling her, you helped so much, I couldn't have done it without you, etc. But his actions didn't reflect this. When someone said they looked up to Emma, she couldn't believe it because of how much Ethobot talked down to her. When Ethobot announced a poll saying, what should we do with Daisy? Now pretty much as you can see here, there was a post where Ethobot was like asking for input whether they should bring back the Daisy character who was run by Emma. Everyone in the comments was pretty much of support of this voice actor, proving that no, Emma is not replaceable and people actually wanted her there and loved her. Now we move on to humiliation. Pretty much there was constant yelling from Ethobot to Emma, both privately and publicly in VCs and streams. I felt very degraded and inhuman that I got to a point where I couldn't tell that he was yelling at me. Also, she was frequently humiliated in public calls within, you know, work Discord servers for small things such as simple voice line overlooks or small scheduling mistakes. This next section here is distance from friends, you know, discouraged from dating, which is absolutely insane. I don't know what the hell a 20-year-old man needs to be getting involved in a 16-year-old's dating life for, but apparently this is what happened here. So these are a bunch of text messages and, you know, you guys can read them on screen right now. You know, you can pause the video if you want. I'm not going to go through them, but essentially this is just A-class manipulation. I mean, firstly, it's a little strange that these guys are hanging out so much. Ethobot, I believe, was 20 at the time and Emma was 16, which is already a little odd. Then to use your power as this 7 million subscriber YouTuber and boss to sit there sending countless messages acting like an 11-year-old girl after her first breakup makes this even worse. I was kind of scared to hang out with anyone because I thought it would upset him. I didn't want to hang out with IRLs nor join VCs with my SMP friend group as often. During the last year of high school, Emma was more outgoing and actually made some friends, and because of that, Emma started getting confessed to, and when she mentioned having a boyfriend to Etho, he hated the idea, saying, I don't want you to have a boyfriend because I feel like it would affect our hangouts. I mean, bro, you've got to be kidding me. You don't want this 16-year-old to have a boyfriend because it will affect your hangouts. Okay, let's just say that these two are the same age, for example. Let's just ignore that fact, right? Let's just ignore the age gap. Let's say that, for example, one of my IRL friends was trying to get a girlfriend. You know, we're both 20, by the way. Do you know how weird it would be for me to sit there and say, nah, I don't want you to get a girlfriend because it will affect our hangouts? Like, bro, you can't stop her from living her life. She doesn't owe you anything. You're weird, bro. And on top of that, she's 16 and you're 20. This kind of seems like someone that is so terminally online and has never spoken to a female his age ever. And now there's another section about more lying from Ethobot, but I'm sure you guys get the idea by now that Ethobot is a compulsive liar. Now this next section goes over where Emma felt really uncomfortable. There was a point in Etho's channel where he started to focus more on dating and fangirl videos, specifically featuring Emma when she was obviously feeling a little uncomfortable doing it because, because, you know, she was a minor, and Etho is literally 20 at this point. Dating videos and I, a minor. I absolutely disliked the videos Ethobot started to make. He started trendjacking fangirl videos that focused on girls, dating, and love, and he kept making them because they got views. Pretty much he then goes on and says, I do remember bringing up slightly during a discussion under the pretense of, I know you want new viewers, but are you sure the OG fans like this content? What if a fangirl stops being a trend and you just build an audience of fangirl content? I'm just saying you might want to do the original content and put a fangirl in there once in a while. And for this next section, we have soft doxing. I hate people that use my real name other than my IRL friends. I don't like it and get very uncomfy when someone online uses my real name. Etho did this a lot. I never mentioned it to him because I didn't want to start another argument for something that I realistically could put up with, and I didn't feel like it was my place to speak. Etho described that he does it as something to establish his bond with someone he likes and calls them by their first name. And look, this is just really weird by Etho. I mean, obviously Emma would have told Etho before that he didn't like him using her real name, but he still just continued to do it. So I mean, yeah, take that how you will. Now next we have meeting up with Ethobot, and this is where stuff starts to go downhill really quickly. When Ethobot met up with Emma, 17, and a fan commissioned art from them, 16, August 24th, 2023, they went to an anime expo in Canada, where they also briefly met a friend, Emma. Ethobot brought his family, brother, and mother, and Fan came with her mum. They went to the convention, the mall, Emma, and Fan's mum, Ethobot, Etho's mum, Fan had dinner together. 1 to 2 days out of the 4, Emma couldn't hang out with him, and Etho guilt-tripped her over it. Etho paid for all of this, and you couldn't even make time. Pretty much this dude is just guilt-tripping Emma over not being able to hang out with her as much, even though she literally had no choice. Her parents were strict and wouldn't let her. The entire interaction also just felt odd. During the expo at that moment, I thought I was having a good time. Looking back, however, there were so many weird things like how he'd hold both mine and the fan's hand. What? I mean, yeah, that's just a little bit odd. Just a 20-year-old man holding hands with a 17 and 16-year-old in real life that he met online. Look, I get it that they were friends, right? But that's still weird. If I, at 20 years old, met a 16 to 17-year-old through the internet, firstly, I'm keeping it totally professional the entire time. I'm not gonna sit there hanging out with them, you know, it's gonna be business only. Secondly, if I were friends with them, I'm not gonna fly out to meet them. Thirdly, I'm not gonna be holding their hands in real life. That's just weird, bro. So now we move on to emotional feelings. This has been an experience that I never thought I would go public on, and I've had too many breakdowns and too many sleepless nights over the situation that it's been eating me to keep it to myself. Pretty much he then goes on to explain how Etho pretty much had just been avoiding her after this point and, you know, ended up breaking off the friendship with her, and it felt like that the past 2 years had meant nothing to him. And we're gonna get to this in a second, but pretty much what happened is that Ethobot's mum had to tell, you know, this girl Emma that Ethobot wanted to break off the friendship. And we're gonna get to those text messages in a second. Pretty much she then goes on to explain how, like, she's really hurt by it. I am upset about this whole situation, but I feel like I'm being selfish for feeling wrong or upset about this. I know I shouldn't be, but it's hard. And now we move on to the end of friendship, and this is where things start to get really bad. At this point, Emma completely relied on Ethobot. This made it even worse when Etho went completely dark on Emma and dried out the conversation. At this point, it had been about 3 weeks of basically silence or dead convos. And Emma kind of realized that things were going south after having dead convos for like 3 weeks, so she messaged Etho's mum and also typed out this huge message you can see on screen that she was going to send to Etho but didn't actually end up sending it. Pretty much she went into huge detail with this. I mean, this is a message that you send to someone when you're like truly friends with them. Like, they pretty much mean everything to you. And that's how Etho made Emma feel, almost like they were family, which again, with the age difference, is super odd. Now, these messages are some attempts Emma made to talk to Etho, which were, you know, just ignored or met with cold responses, almost kind of showing that Etho didn't really like Emma or something like that at this point. And now these text messages here, I'm not gonna read them, but you can pause the video and read them yourself if you want. Pretty much it's from Etho's mum saying that the reason he's been cold is because he realizes that their friendship is coming to an end. He realized that they can't go forward being best friends. Pretty much this guy ended the friendship in his head, allowed himself like 3 weeks to get over the friendship, and didn't even have the courtesy to let Emma know himself, and that he had his mum do it instead. Which, when you're being essentially manipulated to the extent that Emma was being told not to hang out with other people, don't get a boyfriend because, you know, it'll get between us, you can imagine that this is a pretty horrible experience. These are the actions of a complete coward, someone that can't break things off himself, so he gets someone else to do it, in this case being his mum. Anyways, now for this next section we have Vidcon. At Vidcon, Emma remembers telling Etho that she was going for 5 days. The first day, no matter what, she wanted to hang out with her SMP group that Emma knew a lot longer than she knew Etho. He told me in a very serious tone and conversation, he told me, well, do you think it's bad that after you told me you couldn't hang out with me for the days, I cried in the washroom? He genuinely meant it, and it was a serious conversation. Alright, bro, really? A grown man crying over a 16-year-old wanting to spend 1 out of the 5 days she was at Vidcon. She was literally spending 4 days with him, and one of the days she wanted to spend with other people, so he fully crashed out. If this isn't the sign of a crazy weirdo, then I don't know what is. Emma then goes on to explain how the Vidcon hotel was completely paid for by Etho, so he thought he had leverage to force her to hang out with, you know, not her friends and Etho instead. I don't want to go into too much detail because there's a lot to the story and I don't want this video to be 5 hours long. You guys can read it all for yourself and pause the video if you want. But yeah, that's pretty much Emma right there. So that was a really long section, and you know, everything we have to go over again with Emma, there's so much more detail in the actual document. Again, I just went over the main points there, so you guys can read that if you want. But we now have a few more people to share their experiences about Ethobot. So next we have here is SirSean. Now this guy worked for Ethobot at age 15 to 16. He was overworked for 10 hours a day under minimum wage. Etho uses people's trauma to try and bond, calling them emotional meetings or whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. Slanders his friends and other creators to his face, which I mean we already knew about. Unpaid work and peer pressure into working stressful conditions. Etho dingling rewards in front of him to make him overwork. Said he was doing a good job, only for 3 days later to crush his work brutally on the day his dog died. So yeah, that summary was pretty packed, so let's get into it. So here you can see that Sean was being paid for, you know, assistant direction. Etho pretty much said some recordings were only going to take around 30 minutes and some 2 to 3 hours. Sean claims here that this is false and they were always closer to 2 to 3 hours, some going even as, you know, further as to like 3 to 5 hours. He was roughly being paid $5 to $8 an hour, which is absolutely ridiculous. Hey, you said to send you a message about the assistant manager pricing for your recordings. Since I don't know about normal pricing, how would $15 an hour sound? At times can be subjective, since some recordings we can knock it out in 30 minutes with little prep, while others can take 2 to 3 hours. So what if we agreed on a flat fee of $25? Now, I don't know why you wouldn't just agree to the $15 hour rate. If some recordings take longer than others, wouldn't it make sense to pay based on the amount of time you're spending on the recording if they differ in time like you're saying here? It just makes no sense. Like, this didn't have to be an issue. Getting paid $5 an hour for work that you're doing as an assistant director is absolutely insane. So obviously once Sean realized that he was being screwed over, he asked for a raise. Hey, after talking with my parents, they didn't want me to hold out the maximum money and they were concerned because they didn't feel that I was making it calculated into an hourly rate. And pretty much he asked, you know, if he could have a raise. Essentially it would be like $25 an hour or $100 per video if they were going for like 2 to 4 hours, whatever it was. And then Ethobot pretty much said, you know, you're all good. I'm still pondering how to approach this and to do it more consistently. I already saw it from your perspective, so it's no issue. I'll probably pitch you another price later and explain reasoning in more detail. And then finally, after 2 more days, he decided to up my pay from $25 to $40 a video, which even though it was only a $15 increase, I was just relieved I didn't upset him, while obviously a little bit sad. Which obviously, as you can see, Ethobot, you know, asked for $40 a video. Is that going to be okay? And Sean, trying to, you know, probably just avoid confrontation, just says, yeah, sure, sounds good to me. Now we can see down the bottom here, he said he wanted to talk to compliment me. He never ended up doing that in a meeting. And now this is where things start to go downhill. And now this next bit is really bad. Pretty much like we mentioned before, 3 days later, he shouted at Sean in a call about some animation, saying that it was really bad at like 3 AM after he'd finished doing a bunch of work, leaving him stunned, you know, as someone would when they're like 15 to 16. Then unfortunately, Sean just found out that they had to put down their family dog, which in this screenshot you can see Sean tells Etho. He literally doesn't even acknowledge it and then just goes on to talk about the meeting. And then as you can see down the bottom, they had a meeting that lasted 39 minutes. Now in this 39-minute meeting, pretty much as you can see on screen, he said, sorry for yesterday. Anyways, this is going to be brutal. Is that okay? Even after knowing that, you know, his dog just got put down and this is a 15 to 16-year-old, like maybe you should cut him some slack. Then Etho then goes on to say that, you know, he's selfish for wanting to stand out, making high quality animations. He's a terrible person because he wants glory for being the best animator he can. Said that he lies to the audience by animating, and a whole bunch of other stuff down here. Again, you guys can pause and, you know, read all of this stuff, but it's really, really bad. It was just 39 minutes of an absolute slaughtering. And in the context of Ethobot knowing that, you know, his dog just got put down, you can imagine how this kid would be feeling. Now, there's a whole lot more detail on this document about this situation with Sean, but yeah, so let's move on to another person. Now let's move on to Katkun, who is a former assistant content manager for Etho. Kat met Etho when she was 17 and began working with him when she was 18. She was given the role with only partial training, with high expectations, manipulated with love bombing and special treatment, then led on emotionally, used their past traumas to bond. That kind of just seems like the Ethobot special at this point. Gave employees family titles. Kat was considered big sister, which is obviously odd. He also used her relationship and other personal life details to spread rumors and slander her. So as you can see on screen, this is the summary. So pretty much, you know, so like she was treated poorly, similar to Sean, silent treatments, etc., passive aggressive in public and private. So now we move on to the beginnings. Pretty much she met Ethobot and started moderating events for him, offering knowledge and experience with events in the community. And this screenshot here, you can see there's a bunch of messages. Pretty much, you know, I caught feelings before starting to work for him and confessing to him to get it off my chest. As you can see, Kat was pretty much saying like, you know, I've got feelings for you, whatever, and Ethobot, you know, politely declines. I moved on and didn't make a big deal out of it. I still admired his work and plans and was still one of his close friends going forward. And after this, she shrugged it off, but then was later invited onto the team. Ethobot had a trip out to California and used the opportunity to meet up with Kat. When they met, he offered her a position to be a content manager. She was excited and took him up on it. What she was then paid for was checking on work updates, helping him brainstorm, and setting up live streams. However, she was also coming up with event ideas, long form ideas, shorts ideas, and community tab posts, none of which she was being paid for. Next, we move on to Home SMP, which is pretty much just like a Minecraft server that Ethobot created for staff and friends. Pretty much it was just like a regular server, you know, some slight disagreements happened, but there was nothing crazy in there. Anyways, now we move on to the weird stuff. So Kat shows a screenshot where Ethobot had started messaging Kat, being more like sweet and open, I guess, giving Kat the impression that she might actually have a chance with him because, as we discussed before, Kat shot a shot at Etho beforehand, and obviously she was rejected. As you can see, there's a 27-minute call down the bottom here. Pretty much during this call, he said that, you know, he was making a big mistake, and his mum told him to quit leading her on, calling her affection a drug and whatnot. A little bit odd, but let's move on. He then introduced an app called Notion to her, which for those that don't know is just like a productivity app that helps YouTubers and business owners keep their work organized. But what ended up happening was that he used this Notion thing to constantly send reminders to her when she was at like actual work in real life, calling her randomly, not speaking in the call, and then like telling her about some new project or whatever, like screen sharing. Like it was just these really weird calls. Kat then, as you can see, messaged him, you know, saying that it was really stressing her out a lot, these like Notion reminders, and asked him if he could stop, which to his credit, he actually did. Then later on, Kat talks about how Etho had a really emotional call with Kat where he explained that he wanted to change how he was treating his staff, being more cold and professional from now on, which I mean already is just a recipe for disaster. When you've already been treating them like quote family for so long, if you're gonna do that, you might as well do it to begin with. Later on, Kat ended up then quitting working for Etho and gave him ownership of the Discord, and she was immediately kicked, which she found really strange because there were a ton of staff that were still in the Discord that had been fired beforehand. So yeah, that's the story with Kat. Again, there is more details in the document. I just kind of went over the main details there. Now we move on to another person, which is McHorse. This guy is the creator of the Blockbuster mod and worked really closely with Ethobot to try and teach him everything. Ethobot made tutorials about Blockbuster mod, initially offered to make them for free, but McHorse insisted on him being paid, and he got paid $1,600 in total for 16 videos. McHorse taught him advanced features, secret tips to speed up workflow, etc. So now what happened here is that in 2019, when Ethobot wasn't a successful YouTuber yet, he approached Horse with an already made tutorial on the mod and wanted to contribute to it. He pretty much said that he'd continue making these for free, but Horse insisted on paying him for it. This ended up being $1,600 in total for 16 videos, which really helped get the mod out there. Then after this, as we know, Ethobot ended up blowing up on YouTube and essentially made a ton of empty promises saying that he would bring back the Blockbuster mod to the spotlight since his shorts started to blow up and his channel started to do well. This didn't actually end up happening. All he did was make a couple of tweets publicly, and he didn't really do much other than that. He did a couple of streams and mention it, but it really just seemed like he wanted to keep Horse happy while offering nothing to the mod public-wise. He wasn't making any donations or payments to keep the mod going, but just a lot of empty promises. At a lot of points, Etho tried to hire him to make an exclusive version for 1.16.4, which as you can see if you pause and read these messages here, he declined because it was a really difficult thing to do, and the mod was, you know, in a different version of Minecraft, and apparently it's actually like hell to transfer it over. Now we move on to the falling out between these two. These messages here are after Horse declined to make the mod for Etho. He then sent this weird ass video which has a transcript down here. The transcript shows that Etho was essentially trying to manipulate this guy by telling him how amazing his mod was, and he was going to show it to the masses, which obviously he never ended up doing. After this, Horse got understandably pretty annoyed with Etho. Etho stopped crediting the mod in his shorts of January 2023. Eventually, Horse had had enough of these false promises and sent a huge DM confronting him. Again, you guys can pause and read if you want. Essentially, pretty much he was saying that he was hurt by Etho's false promises, not supporting the mod when he said he would. Then Etho replied trying to say that he had helped out the mod, which I mean he clearly hadn't done much at all, and at the end tried to donate $100 to try and mitigate the damage he'd caused, which luckily Horse didn't accept as he felt really insulted. Like bro, it's like trying to put a band-aid on a wound. Like that really doesn't do anything to help realistically. Then he said, I don't need your donation, it's too late. Then he explains how the resentment was eating away at him, so he then went back and apologized to Ethobot for crashing out at him. So for a while after that, Ethobot and Horse were cool. You know, Horse made an announcement video and scheduled a stream for the release of this mod. Ethobot then, as you can see, did a $10 Patreon support thing as a way to support him, which Ethobot thought was pretty ridiculous. I mean, after years of fake support and messing him around, acting like he's gonna promote it in videos and whatnot, he resorts to the money tactic to try get Horse off his back about it. So Horse then finally confronted Etho in a call, saying that, you know, he felt really hurt by this, and that there are many other ways he could have gone about it. For example, another mod called Better Lights, Horse made a video about it, generating far more money than just donating $10 a month while generating hundreds of thousands of dollars off of it in his own content. The main point of this guy's story, right, is that Ethobot profited hundreds of thousands of dollars off of this mod while not promoting it in a sense to gatekeep it for himself, leaving Horse with barely any profit from it, which is just absolutely scummy. Then trying to alleviate the hurt by buying a $10 a month Patreon tier. Now this next section here is actually good news. Pretty much an ex-employee told Horse during a recording session with Etho that while Etho was trying to get Horse to make a mod for him, and you know, he declined obviously like we said before, apparently Etho just fully crashed out and it ruined his entire recording session. He then tried to make his own mod, but then realized it would cost like $80,000 to $110,000 to create. So these mods are really hard, bro. Like, it's not just like a YouTube video or something small. Like, these take a lot of work, and Ethobot was pretty much just rinsing Horse off of hundreds of thousands of dollars of content with this mod, but wasn't willing to shout it out, pretty much gatekeeping it for himself. Alright, now for this next section, we have a few testimonies from people that chose to stay anonymous. I won't be covering it in this video because, you know, there's a lot of different topics, but again, if you guys want to read up on it, it's all covered in the document. But if you think it ends here, I mean, it definitely doesn't. Since this document has been released to the public, Ethobot has actually responded to it, but this response is absolutely terrible. To summarize his response, it's pretty much him saying that these are serious allegations made by people that are haters just hating. Awesome response, mate. I didn't know an entire document with tons of evidence is just from haters, but anyway. And says that he's not going to respond because it isn't worth it. And he says that he's just going to ignore it and move on. In other words, basically he doesn't know how to respond to what's being said because it's probably true, so hopefully people don't make this situation too big so he doesn't have to respond. Which is absolutely disgusting and is exactly why I'm making this video right now. To force this dude to actually take some damn responsibility and respond to what's going on. I actually sent this guy a Twitter DM and a Discord friend request, you know, asking for a comment with this whole document, and he never replied to me. So this is really the only way it's gonna happen. And as you can see here, this screenshot is from an anonymous person who, you know, showed that there was a girl who played Chloe who was 14 to 15 years old at the time and was playing a character in Ethobot's videos. Etho needed serious convincing that Chloe shouldn't be in these videos when she was so young, because the videos that she was in were like these weird dating videos, which obviously is like obviously terrible. And this comment on the top is trying to act like Chloe is a young adult and that it's okay. I mean, bro, if Emma being 16 to 17 and being in these weird roleplay videos was bad enough, you got someone even younger in there and you're trying to act like that it's not that big of a deal. It's just so odd from these guys. I don't understand. Now, of course, since this document has been published, a bunch of people have gone to Etho's socials and tried to get a statement from him, myself included, but all he seems to do is censor these comments, and it really looks like he's trying to hide from the situation, not saying anything about it and not commenting. There's more screenshots on the document explaining that Etho is deleting comments and censoring criticism. Now look, I think it's time I send a personal message to you, Ethobot. I know you're watching this video, bro. You can try hide from all these allegations all you want, bro. Act like they're nothing, act like they're, you know, it's just because you have 7 million subscribers and have a bit of power that you can do whatever you want, but the truth always has a way of coming back around. I've literally spent the last 2 to 3 days straight researching this video and putting everything together here because I know what it's like to be a smaller YouTuber, a smaller guy, and feeling lost. You can't sit here taking advantage of people forever. Eventually cracks start to form and people start waking up, Etho. As a closing statement for this video, again, the documents I've gone over today are in the description down below, as well as Animal Mace's tweet trying to reach YouTube to do something about this guy. I seriously don't know how he still has a channel. He's literally been manipulating people way younger than him, falsely copyright striking, and meeting up with people he clearly shouldn't be. Ethobot, take some damn ownership of not only your mistakes, but of your manhood. You can't hide forever, buddy. Anyways, I'm done with this Ethobot situation. Click the video on screen right now because YouTube thinks you'll enjoy it, and I'll see you all over there. Subscribe.